Welcome to Applaa.com. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a complete explainer on the newly updated 2026 UCAT exam. Look, if you're gunning for medical or dental school in the UK, you already know this test is a massive hurdle. But today, we're going to break it all down, analyze the brand new 2026 changes, and equip you with the exact strategies you need to confidently conquer the admissions process.
So, here's our mission briefing for today. First, we'll be demystifying the UCAT. Then, we'll look at the anatomy of the exam, decode the scoring system, map out your preparation strategy, and finally, we'll go over avoiding common pitfalls. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, demystifying the UCAT. So, you're probably asking yourself, is the UCAT hard? Well, yeah, it absolutely is. But here's the secret. It's not hard in the way your A-level or IB exams are. Why? Because there's literally zero factual content to memorize here. No equations to rote learn, no historical dates to recall. Instead, it's tough because it's testing your cognitive speed, your logical precision, and your professional judgment under intense, unrelenting time pressure. There is a huge misconception floating around about this test. As Dr. Ash from FutureDoc points out so perfectly, the UCAT is not an IQ test, and it's not something you either have or you don't. It's a learnable skill. Honestly, that is fantastic news for you. It means that the cognitive speed and precision we just talked about are absolutely skills you can train, hone, and improve with the right framework. Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of the Exam. Okay, so you are strapping in for a grueling 1 hour and 51-minute marathon here, completely split across 4 highly pressurized subtests. Just look at verbal reasoning. 44 questions in only 21 minutes. I mean, that is rapid-fire reading. Then you're pushing through decision-making, quantitative reasoning, and finishing up with the situational judgment section with 69 questions in 26 minutes. It's a test of endurance just as much as intellect. The crucial point here is that each section demands a totally different cognitive gear. You're shifting rapidly from critical reading comprehension and verbal reasoning straight into logical puzzles and data interpretation for decision-making. Then, boom, you suddenly have to pivot to on-the-spot mental maths and quantitative reasoning before finishing with a test of your medical ethics and professional judgment in the SJT. You really have to be incredibly agile to switch between these modes without crashing. Part 3, Sequencing Tasks, or Mastering the Lineup. Here is your unpanicked step-by-step method for sequencing. First, match your sketch to the real world. If the puzzle's about a queue of people, draw a horizontal line. If it's a building with floors, draw a vertical stack. Trust me, this prevents so much directional confusion later on. Second, find and lock in your consecutive pairs, like A is immediately before B. Locking these chunks in shrinks your puzzle incredibly fast. Finally, you just layer your looser relative rules like C is somewhere before D around the anchors you've already fixed. Now for Part 4, Matching Tasks and Connecting the Categories. This right here is the absolute most common logic puzzle format you'll see in the UCAT. For matching, you always want to use a two-way grid. Why? Because the grid completely removes the need to hold floating possibilities in your working memory. It lets the paper do the heavy cognitive lifting. Just draw a grid, apply your most positive direct rules first, and get a confirmed pairing. The second you get a confirmed tick, you can confidently cross out the rest of that row and column. And for those really complex double matching puzzles, like pairing students to subjects and specific days, easy. Just draw 2 grids and feed the confirmed answers back and forth between them. But what about those classic traps that cause everyone to freeze up? I'm talking about negative rules and unknown entities. Say a rule tells you Beth is not on Monday or Wednesday, and there are 4 days total. Don't panic. Convert it into a positive. Beth is on Tuesday or Thursday. Just leave those negative rules alone until your grid is filled enough that they become direct confirmations. And unknown entities? If someone is named in the intro prompt but literally never mentioned in the rules, ignore them. Treat them as a free variable. They will naturally slot into whatever empty space is left at the very end.
On to Part 5, Mastering Spatial Logic Tasks and Thinking in Multi-Dimensions. Do not, I repeat, do not fall into the trap of drawing a single straight line for a spatial puzzle. If the puzzle is about people sitting at a table, draw a circle. If it's about compass directions, draw a cross. Get that 2D map sketched immediately. Then, exactly like we did before, find your most fixed entity and lock it in. The ultimate secret here is to use adjacency rules, phrases like immediately to the left, to work your way outward from your anchor. Finally, Part 6, Timing, Common Traps, and Protecting Your Hard-Earned Score. 63. That is the exact number of seconds you have available per question in the decision-making section. Let that sink in for a second. You literally do not have the luxury of time to casually ponder these questions. Because of that harsh 63-second reality, you have to adopt the ruthless 10-second rule. If you scan the rules of a logic puzzle and you cannot spot a clear anchor clue within 10 seconds, flag the question and immediately move on. Seriously, complex puzzles that don't have direct confirmations are massive time sinks. Use that flag function actively, and go grab your easy points elsewhere first. You can always come back. Now, let's confront one of the biggest psychological hurdles out there. When you see the option cannot be determined, do you instantly avoid it, assuming you just missed a clue? Or worse, do you select it way too quickly just because the puzzle feels too hard? The source material clears this up brilliantly. Cannot be determined is not a trick. It is a highly mechanical, correct answer when multiple valid arrangements exist. To totally cure your anxiety around this, just use the 5-second check. Once you find one valid arrangement that works, take 5 seconds to ask yourself, can I swap any unfixed entity into a different position, still satisfy all the rules, but change the answer to the question? If the answer is yes, then cannot be determined is absolutely the right choice. And that brings us to the core philosophy of this entire playbook. The UCAT isn't testing your ability to blindly guess or just be smart. It is testing your discipline to methodically deduce. Every puzzle is just a chain. Find the anchor, place it, and build your deductions step by step. So here's what you should be asking yourself after watching this explainer. Are you ready to stop blindly solving and start strategically building? Best of luck with your UCAT prep. You've got it.